Good evening, good night, good morning, good day, wherever you are from across the pond, the Atlantic, across the Pacific, down under, over under, anywhere. Even if you're in Latvia, we're here. Real tennis fans is here for you with another special. I mean, we thought we didn't have anything to talk about, but I'm right, we got something special to talk about, and it's not even about Venus Williams, which has
Aw.
been overshadowed by this whole mess. But before I
Right?
go any further, I just want to say, good night, everyone, again, and let me introduce my hostess with the mostest. We have Andree, solely from Solely Tennis Travel, and this is how good
Act-
Andree is. She is actually en route traveling to Indian Wells right now. So people who are trying to come for her wig and trying to say she don't go anywhere, she
Here
is
she
traveling
goes.
to Indian Wells in the desert. And you hear that ding dong from the train. It's so often that
yeah.
she's en route.
Ignore the train conductor screaming in your ear.
Exactly. And we have with us also, as always, we have Janina or Kato Kalin from Foreign Territories of Ohio. That guest who just doesn't
How did
leave.
I turn into the crazy white guy?
Maybe because you're half white.
Maybe.
Halfway.
It's the unreal tennis fans, like one drop of white makes you white. Okay,
We do the reverse. We do the reverse.
Okay, we're trying to
Damn.
balance out the madness. Okay,
Damn.
We're
and
throwing you under the bus all the time, Janina.
I know. I'm like the redheaded stepchild.
no, you've been very good. I'm telling you, she's been keeping notes. She's been watching
No, she's the
matches.
poster child for white privilege. So this is how we don't deal with you.
Oh my god.
And of course, I keep forgetting myself. Here to read it. And tonight's podcast is called American White Privilege and Russian Doctors. Just put it out there. Because I think the overall question that we're going to try to talk about or answer or trying to grapple with this evening, and let me forget, so I have an announcement to make. We have a guest with us this evening, a surprise guest. Her
Ooh.
name is Meldonium Meldronite. She's here with us this evening. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the last name correctly. Meldronate or Meldronate? But it's
Meldronite.
Meldronate. Everyone keeps saying Meldronate,
We
but
gotta-
I'm seeing Nate, Nate, but you know what? It's Latvian, and I don't
No.
speak Latvian, so I don't know.
We're gonna pronounce it. We're gonna pronounce it the way her friend Sharapova pronounced it. Meldronite.
okay.
That's what she's known it for years.
And it's a girl, apparently, because Serena Williams put out a little quick tweet saying, "My girl at Meldonium." So it's Meldonium Meldronite. Okay, she's here with us. Unfortunately, she don't speak much English. None at all. So we're going to be asking her objective questions, and she
May
will
I have
be
your
responding.
attention, please? Our next station stop
Oh, there's Meldronite. Very
That's
deep
Meldronite
voice
Daddy.
female.
That's Meldronite Daddy. Don't get it twisted.
Oh,
So
sorry.
Meldronite, the rules is that if you have any questions for Meldonium, or I like to call her Melody. If you have any questions for you know what? Let's not even make this sign. Her name is Meldonium, and it sounds like a magical metal that is from some place from Latvia, unfortunately, apparently. But anyway, if you have any questions for Meldonium, you could ask objective questions, which is yes and no responses, and she would be saying "niet" for no and "da" for yes. That's as much Russian as I know, but apparently she understands English, but only speaks Russian. So, and I also have a name of Maria Sharapova doctor, but we're gonna get to that later on. So,
All right.
ladies,
What do we know? Where do we
what do
want
we
to start?
know?
Let's dig in.
Okay, let's start with the first thing. So now that we all were introduced to Meldronium this week, right? Meldonium this week,
Yeah,
and suddenly we're all experts on Meldonium. So much so that we are all ready to say that this industry that Latvia has been propagating is just false. Meldonium doesn't do any of the things that people say it does.
In fact, we could bypass what the makers of Meldonium is actually saying about their drug.
So basically, They've been lying on their website.
They know nothing. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
These pharmaceuticals who we say they were making some heart medication, who knew they were making Flintstone chewables? That's all it was.
Vitamins.
It's a vitamin.
Vitamin. Actually, if you notice the wording that all of the Russians are saying, it's not like it's vitamin, but it's always given with vitamins. Always. Meldonium, you're always accompanied with, or as the English would say across the pond, vitamins. Girl, can you explain that? Niet.
Yeah.
Niet. She just said niet. She said the word
Sorry.
said niet. She cannot explain why it is that she keeps hanging out with vitamins when she is not a vitamin or a vitamin. And
Or basically, yeah. Go ahead.
And despite everything, three things that I think that no one has ever hinted at that meldonium is. That one, that meldonium is clearly not a diabetic medication. Nowhere is like there is supposed to be some study in rats, but no human testing. That's one. Two, absolutely no mention is that no one has mentioned magnesium. It's not a magnesium supplement. And three, meldonium is not an immune booster. So if you are getting sick, sickly, fluish, meldonium is not the pill to take.
No, you should probably take your vitamins.
So how much traction should we really give these articles and the very questioning of whether meldonium does what it says it's supposed to do?
Well, this is what I've learned. And I learned this, well, I mean, I read about it plenty, but there was an article that Reuters published that summed everything up quite nicely, and they spoke with a representative of the pharmaceutical company, and which is Grindex, I guess is how you say it. And she said that this drug is designed to treat patients with certain cardiovascular diseases. Not sometimes issues, diseases, including...
Hold on. Did they mention irregular EKGs?
They said angina, chronic heart failure, cardiomyopathy, and other cardiovascular disorders. Now listen. An irregular EKG does not, absolutely, does not constitute a cardiac disease. You can have an irregular EKG if you're under a lot of stress. Your heart can act wacko. Let's be clear about that. The Grindex spokesperson also told us that this drug promotes, well, they promote the drug for people with reduced working capacity from physical or psycho-emotional overload, aka stress, anxiety. Head injuries, encephalitis, it is not indicated for diabetes. This is coming straight from the drug company, okay? So that's what we know for sure.
But, you know, the thing that has gotten me confused, though, is this idea then. So what? So do all these athletes who are testing for it, do they have major heart conditions? Or are they just extrapolating that if it's going to help with oxygen delivery, that it should necessarily help a healthy person? What's
That's
that?
just, this is the bottom line. Meldonium increases blood flow, which is almost always an issue if you have a legitimate heart problem. And there have been doctors who have spoken out about this, you know, that someone of Maria Sharapova's stature, being an elite, healthy athlete, it's unlikely that she would be suffering from a serious heart condition. And if she were, she would be unable to play top-level tennis.
I know that.
Okay? So, whatever. It isn't something that is prescribed because you have a family history, because you have a few crazy EKGs in 2006. And I am yet to find anything from anybody on her camp that is talking about abnormal EKGs outside of the year 2006.
That's interesting.
Well, this is what I find interesting, is that for the past 10 years, you were suffering with this quote-unquote irregular heartbeat, irregular EKG. You've been having this situation. And you continue seeing your family doctor. This is an ongoing thing for like 10 years, right? You're seeing your family doctor. And mind you, his name has to be Dr. Zhivago. Because ain't nobody telling me anything else, because everybody who's quoting something is not their doctor. It gotta be Dr. Zhivago. Everybody who's quoting from Maria Camp is not a medical expert. Or in support of her is not a medical expert.
No, and the medical experts seem to be coming out on the complete other side of that.
And what I find interesting is that she has not consulted a cardiologist.
Well, that would just be silly. That would be too much like rape.
Well, the thing is, the thing for me though is, okay, if you're based in the United States, why wouldn't, and you're having these sort of list of symptoms, and the EKG doesn't actually tell us anything. All it reflects is kind of a measuring tool to suggest something. I don't know what it measured. I don't know what it was saying. All I know is based on what was said, which is irregular, right? Doesn't suggest what that actually means. But if you're doing this and you're based in the United States and quote unquote, I guess you live here, why wouldn't you be using the medicine that's here in the US?
Easily accessible. No question. Because people, let's be clear, right? Meldonium has been, WADA has put out some kind of publication, some notice about meldonium since 2014. In order for it to be on the monitoring list in 2015, it had to make mention that in 2014 that this drug will be going on the monitoring list. So that Maria didn't read the email on December 22nd means nothing. Because by January 1st of 2015, she should have known that this drug that she has been taking would be problematic, that there was going to be some kind of issue up or down. Yes, you can continue taking this medication. No, you cannot take this medication.
Well, think about it, Realz. Think about some of the responses we've heard from other people. If you're a doctor who's prescribed you this special drug because you're having these issues, right? Then that means that that doctor is also monitoring all of the interactions with other drugs. They're monitoring all kinds of news, and because they're actually a reputable doctor that's treating an athlete, they'd be paying attention to all the things that are going on. Because one of the things that's really interesting about where meldonium ended up on WADA's list is that it ended up as, what do they call it? They call it an F4 substance, which is a hormone and metabolic modulator. In that list, among meldonium is also, what is this, trimetazidine or something like that, which is also used to treat heart failure. So it's among a list of other known heart failure drugs.
Well, and not only that.
Well, I think the problem is that Maria's family doctor, Dr. Zhivago, was too busy worrying about Larissa, so he didn't got no time to check up on the latest about meldonium.
But we need to understand that this drug is, we already know, and it's been highly publicized, that this is not a medication that has been approved by the FDA in the United States. However,
it's not been approved in the European Union either.
That's right. It hasn't been approved in the European Union's medicine agency. And doctors are repeatedly saying that as a physician, this isn't something that they would prescribe, having not been approved by these two drug monitoring bodies, because it's, they don't know about it. It's not safe. And also, it has been noted specifically it was a clinical pharmacology professor, a professor of molecular and clinical pharmacology at Britain's University of Liverpool said, among others, It's rare for a doctor to treat an illness and to prescribe a drug that is unavailable in the country where the patient lives. Where does Maria Sharapova live again?
Generally, I think in California.
Yeah.
Well, didn't I? I think I sent you all a message about the 2 drugs that I think they were saying that there are only 2 approved drugs to treat the conditions that theoretically Maria Sharapova might have, or someone like Maria Sharapova might have, that led them to take meldonium.
Well, I can't dispute that for sure, but my guess is there's a hell of a lot more than 2 drugs.
Well, no, because the whole point of it is that it's...
But there's something else.
Yeah, there's something else. There are other things that you can use. I was reaching out to my mother, who's a nurse, to try to find out exactly if you presented that same condition here, what drug would you be using? What drug would they encourage you to use in the United States? And the reality is, if they're encouraging you to use this drug, you could easily then apply for a therapeutic use exception, right? Exemption then.
Okay.
Because if you have this, right? Because basically, look, it's on the list. It's an S4 substance. Mm-hmm. So you would have to basically say, I have this medical condition and I need to take this. This is what my doctor has prescribed.
Exactly, because especially since the fact that WADA has made it abundantly clear, not even a small trace is acceptable. It isn't like you have a high level of like aspirin or a high level of caffeine in your system, which is caffeine is now okay. But is that any trace of meldonium in your system is problematic. It's a 4-year ban. But I mean, I just want to point out to something, because in light of this situation on Monday, a whole bunch of Russian athletes have come out in support of Maria, and they have this hashtag Stand with Maria. So I got into a little Twitter, tete-a-tete with Anna Petrakova. Anna Petrakova, when I look up, is a basketballer. And Anna Petrakova, if I'm saying it correctly, said, I had irregular AKG and a mitral valve prolapse condition. She said, I had to take it daily for a few weeks, not exactly sure the dosage. It was Meldronite, and she spelled it Nats, I think 3 pills a day. Then I asked, did you check she said, no, I think I asked her something along the line like, how did you know you didn't have to take it? She said, no, I was warned by the team doctor in September that it will be banned. Glad I got the memo, and I never viewed it as doping. But if you got this, right, if this was such a serious heart condition, right, that's what I wanted to know, because all of these, because she added, 1 in 5 Russian athletes take this drug. So that means 20% of Russian athletes have a heart condition similar to her and Maria. She never answered that question.
That's just ridiculous.
So she never answered that question but my thing is that what I find interesting is that, so you'll have this serious heart condition. You're aware that WADA is about to ban this drug. So many Russian athletes are taking this drug for this heart condition. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt.
Sure.
Why are they not standing up and saying, oh my God, this drug, we need this drug. We need to allow us, because, and particularly the fact that we can only get this drug in Russia. This drug, nobody put forward a petition for this matter. Everybody knew this thing was going to be crazy. Most people stopped, and nobody has been crying foul and said, oh my God, my heart is sick. I need my heart medication and I can't get my heart medication. Either I take my heart medication or I get kicked out of the sport I love. So that's what I find crazy.
Well, the way that I understood it was that in order to get a TUE, you had to meet a series of criteria. And one of those were there cannot be an alternative treatment. So given the fact that this drug is now on the ban list and there are alternative treatments, which I did not check to see if those drugs were also on the list, and we can get to this later. It's very easy to check, Maria. Very, very easy. But we'll talk about that in a bit. But it is my understanding that it is impossible to get an exemption if there is an alternative treatment. Am I misunderstanding the rules here?
No, you're not. But you know what I find interesting? One of the reasons why I mentioned Anna Petrakova, because when I looked at Maria's recent statement that she put out today, which is a basically fuck you to everybody and I'm doing what the fuck I want to do. This is the second statement, the third statement, in fact. What I find interesting is that she said in her statement, if I can find it exactly, she said, the story quotes the manufacturer of my medicine as saying treatment codes can be repeated twice or thrice a year. Only physician can follow and evaluate patient's health condition and state whether the patient should be using meldonium for a longer period of time. That's exactly what I did. I didn't take the medicine every day. I took it the way my doctor recommended I take it, and I took it in the low dosages recommended. So this is what I find it confusing. Here we have Anna Petrakova telling us that she had to take the medicine every day, but Maria didn't have to take this medicine every day. And her doctor when her doctor told her to take it, like say 1 pill a day, she took half a pill a day, she's basically saying. So it's such a serious heart condition that you are taking your Dr. Zhivago's advice, and then you're being, I'm going to only take half of Dr. Zhivago's advice. Maria, this shit doesn't hold up anyway. You're full of shit. You don't have a heart condition.
Well, we don't know what he told her to take.
But she's saying it here. Sorry.
But it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. The very foundational issue is that this is supposedly a sickly person who needs this medication.
Exactly.
So if you're a sickly person who needs this medication, then you need to, okay, fine. Okay, let's then back up. So I'm backing into this and saying, okay, you didn't read that this medication is now on the banned list. So the TUE is not for you. What you're going to have to do then is you're going to have to do the retroactive TUE now, right? Because if you theoretically really need this medication, then you need to be able to establish that that is why you just forgot to, what?
Ask for it?
Ask for it? I mean, like, that's what I don't understand.
She didn't know, because she didn't know she needed to ask for it, because she didn't know it was on the ban list. It all comes back to I didn't click the email.
But you know what, though? But you know, one of the things I noticed when I was reading the tennis anti-doping piece is that it's not even just about Maria or even the athlete. It also is about the athlete's team. So even though in the press conference she didn't really sort of throw any of her team under the bus, the team is also responsible and in ensuring that she remains clean.
Yes, they are, but ultimately...
No, but what I'm talking about, if you're in a medical situation, if you have a real medical disease or a medical problem, then it's also the responsibility of this doctor to sort of stay up on what's happening with this drug. Dr. Zhivago has to stay up on what's happening with the drug, right?
And this is what I don't understand. Like, I mean, like, everything boiled down to just that her whole empire collapsed
because of her.
She didn't click the December 22nd email. That's bullshit.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense.
Let's be clear. Let's be clear on how this works, because Richard Ings gave an interview, and if you don't know who he is yet, you should follow him on Twitter, because he is laying it all out there, letting everybody know exactly how it works. Who he is he has had 10 years experience in anti-doping in tennis, 5 years with the ATP and 5 years with Tennis Australia. And he said, a man in charge of anti-doping said, at the end of the day, the obligation falls to the player, no matter what, which is true. However, we have learned since this came out that many athletes do rely on their team. And you know what? I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with it at all. If you trust your team and you can afford for somebody to stay on top of that for you, by all means do it. But you know what? Even the athletes who said, I rely on my team, said, I still check the list myself. Yeah. And Maria Sharapova is a multi-millionaire with a very deep team around her. I don't believe for 1 second. I appreciate her not saying Jane Smith didn't check the list and tell me and throwing somebody under the bus. I can appreciate that, but I do not believe for 1 second that she doesn't have somebody that monitors this. I don't believe that. I can't believe it, because everybody talks about how smart she is, how in control she is of everything that she's got her hands in, and you want to tell me that you're not in control of your own body? I'm not buying that.
But the thing is, what I'm saying is, though, listen, this is a serious drug. It's not meant to be taken by people who are otherwise healthy.
Exactly.
So if her doctor dropped the ball, I don't understand why you wouldn't establish that, because that also creates an opportunity for you to go back and say that you should get the retroactive TUE. Do you see what I mean?
I do understand that.
By saying that you're the only one who forgot to click the link, what it's doing is it's setting her up to have this whole conversation. Sorry, it's setting her up to have this whole conversation about whether she willfully or was negligent, or she was willful or negligent, or all of those things. But the reality is, I'm still going to take her word for the fact that she has a serious disease that necessitated this. So that means that, you know what I mean?
Well, and this is a good time to talk about how players and teams get information, because Maria is relying heavily on this. I didn't click the link. I just didn't check.
Well, actually, no. She in her recent statement, she's actually saying the information may have been given out, but it wasn't in a compatible form that I can understand it.
Well, yes, and let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because Ings told us that he believes tennis does a pretty good job of communicating changes to the WADA list to players. He says that there are mandatory meetings that players must attend in January that discusses this very thing. He said
I think by that point it's kind of too late for him.
Well, sure, it's too late, but when there are notices that are put up in locker rooms, there's an app on your phone. And I just want to tell you all that before we started this podcast, I don't know why it didn't occur to me for me to do this before.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome aboard.
I decided to go to the WADA website. There's a search engine. You do not have to check the entire list of banned substances. All you have to do is put a drug in the search engine, and it will tell you.
Right.
Yes, it will tell you immediately if it's on the list or not, and why. And
I can tell you one better too.
Hold on. But if that's too hard for you, Miss Sharapova, to actually go to the WADA website, Google is your friend. Google is your friend, because I just searched is a drug, and I did several just to see how it was going to come up. I didn't just do meldonium, because we all know that's there, whatever. I did several, and you can Google it, and it's going to say, you can Google, is this drug on WADA's banned list? And it's going to tell you. It's going to say right there.
Crazier?
It's not hard. I don't want to hear this bullshit about I don't understand the language. It was called something else, because you know what? If you Google if you Google Meldronite, Meldonium comes up, and vice versa. So it is really, really disheartening to hear everybody say how smart Maria Sharapova is, but she couldn't even think to Google something.
But
my 7-year-old uses Google.
But the crazy thing is that there is an app on their phone. They use the phone to check in when they go someplace, when they need to go out of competition to declare. So I don't understand it. And plus, this drug is
a very lame excuse, is what it is.
Is it? I believe it's raining in Indian Wells because there are no more matches going on right now.
Good. Then everybody can quit bitching that we're doing this during Venus's match.
Exactly.
Jonathan. Jonathan. Love you, boo. I put a question out there. Tony, our lovely Tony, says, what questions do you think are outstanding that we're hoping that you are all looking for answers from the tribunal?
Okay, I'm not even at the tribunal yet. My question is, why is the WTA insider and the WTA itself on the outside and on mum? I don't understand this.
Well, I mean, why?
Why? Because at the very least, Maria broke the rules.
Yes.
She didn't follow what players are supposed to do. If that includes not clicking the link, not checking their stuff, she failed a drug test. She failed it. Not that someone said, I saw meldonium in her bag, and she was thinking she had an illegal substance in her presence. No, she wasn't hanging out with uncool friends. She failed a drug test. She said she failed the test, and she tested positive. So that at the very least, you need to condone that behavior.
Wait up. So what do you want the WTA to say? Because, I mean, if you go by their initial statement was
Maria's statement.
No, well, it doesn't matter though. What it said was this matter is now in the hands of tennis anti-doping program and its standard procedure. The WTA will support the decision reached through this process. What else do you want them to say? I'm just curious. Like, what other thing do you think should happen?
I think that the very least should say like this is like players. There should be a warning for players. Also, I mean, look, when Nick said, Donna was fucking cooking knackers, everybody had something to say. ATP, ITF, WTA, small league tennis, backyard alley tennis, even ping pong had something to say. All of a sudden now, nobody have anything to say about this.
I get it.
Well, maybe everybody else is Googling all of their medication and looking.
Well, that's
everybody's busy.
Initially, everybody's checking it. Everybody is checking it. Janina, you better check in with Kuzi. You better check in with Kuzi because it's 1 in 5 Russians.
She is losing. Well, she said some stupid shit in the last few days. I'm not talking about it.
Well, you know what, though? I have to say, though, I do think that, what about this idea now? This is like I think this notion of like a conspiracy theory floating around, that really that this is just an attack on the Russians, and that's why you really see all the kind of Russians banding together and telling the same storyline. What do you think about that idea?
You know what I think about that idea? I think that the Russian Federation is telling their athletes, y'all better band together because all y'all motherfuckers been taking it, including non-athletes. I mean, let it be known that they were passing this shit out in the 80s to their soldiers when they had to go fight in Afghanistan. Why? Because the altitude is high. Why is it hard when the altitude is high? Because it's harder to breathe. And what does meldonium do? It increases your blood flow. What does that do? It helps you breathe better. It takes oxygen faster to all your organs. So it's not just Russian athletes. It's fucking Russian everything. They probably sprinkle that shit on kids' cereal.
But see, that's not
a crazy idea because in the former East Germany, they were giving the girls steroids and they weren't even aware of it. But I want to go back to that mention because that is something that is lost within all of the I think there's a lot of a lot of articles, particularly from. And before I even I just want to be clear. What I've noticed is that the articles from the American side of the situation, and mainly from the players, the journalists who follow tennis religiously, are very different from the journalists across the pond, down under, and who don't follow tennis, but who follow other sports in general, and
That's
understand
because they
how
know it's a bunch
doping
of
goes.
bullshit.
Oh, wait. What's the difference? What's the difference you're noticing?
What's the difference is that I find that a lot of the articles that are coming up from the followers of tennis, they're not meant to clarify, they're rather to confuse and murky the issue. They're trying to push out a whole bunch of like little, well, since she didn't click her email, everybody else didn't click their email, well, that makes it okay.
Shouldn't we maybe consider giving people a pass?
Yeah.
Because there were so many positives? No.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is, though? I hate to throw this in there. I mean, I want to say it's athletic explaining, but it feels like a lot of white-splaining, actually.
Yes, hence why it's white privilege. Who has a white slimline telephone? Who has a white slimline telephone? Is Hyacinth Bouquet somewhere around here? What's that about?
I do. Back off.
No, but I have noticed that. I have noticed that a lot of the articles aren't really clarifying and really kind of, I feel like, establishing a zero tolerance atmosphere. You know what I mean?
I don't think it works. I see.
That's what I would like.
But this is what I find really crazy, because what I find is happening here, what Maria Sharapova is doing, and what the Americans, I don't want to say American, because some of these, let me say the journalists, journeymen in tennis, I should put it out with that rather clear. What I find them doing is that they are attacking they're attacking the system of doping, of anti-doping. They're calling that into disrepute. They're attacking that credibility, trying to say that, you're not good enough, you're not doing your job.
Well, that was what was interesting. That's been the interesting thing to me, is this time around, is how for the first time, because usually when something happens, everyone protects the system. But for the very first time, I'm noticing people are actually, in some sense, wanting you to challenge whether WADA even makes sense. Like, why does WADA decide that this drug and not any other drug needs to be a part of it? And realistically, what are the other criterias? Because what if this drug is actually a lie? You know what I mean? Like, what if all the things?
What do you mean when you say what if it's actually a lie? What does that mean?
Well, what I meant is that suddenly, people are wanting to know if this drug actually does what it says it does. And clueless. And one of the things I did do is I went and I looked at the anti-doping code, and realistically, what they said is that WADA's designation of the drug as a prohibited substance is final. You don't get to come in at the end and decide, hey, you know, this drug is not really doing what you think it's doing, so I'm really not doping. Basically, if you signed on for WADA's anti-doping program, then you're in. So you don't get to come and sort of quarterback on Monday and say, hey, well, let's just challenge your very system. Which, by the way, listen, I usually love that. I usually love it when you want to start deconstructing systems. And if you wanted to start deconstructing systems because I felt like it was a legitimate reason for that, then I'd be A-okay. But I feel like it's really just about protecting your quote-unquote, your box office star.
But you know what?
And to me, that feels really suspect. Because if you really want your sport to be clean, you shouldn't be attacking WADA in this moment.
Oh, I'm in for the penny, I'm in for the pound. Attack WADA. Say WADA is full of shit and know what the fuck they're doing. I'm down for that. But you know, if you buy onto that bandwagon, you know what you're saying? Tennis isn't clean.
Yeah, well, they haven't thought that far.
Your anti-doping system ain't right.
Because you don't like who it found? Because you didn't like who it found?
Well, I mean, you know who's been most vocal about this as far as people inside tennis is Andy Murray this week. And, you know, he made an interesting point that last year he was tested all the damn time. And now here we are 3 weeks into the year, or not 3 weeks, I'm sorry, 3 months into the year, and he's been tested twice. When you have a top player
that's not enough. Exactly.
saying that I'm not being tested enough, you know that the system isn't working well. Bottom line.
Well, what Richard
can't
Ing
dispute
mentioned,
that.
which is true. Tennis has gotten better.
But better doesn't mean great.
I know, understand. But honest to God, what they had before. When you have Delpo telling you that, you know, like, they don't even come check me. And this is one of the things that the player council got involved some time ago, the fact that they were particularly picking on one player and checking him all the time. I don't know who this player is, but they weren't checking people in general. So the crazy thing about tennis, what I find really crazy about tennis is that you're going to have athletes show up to a tournament, particularly people who are winning, and they not get tested at the tournament.
Listen,
like,
Roger Federer has said in public, when I finish a Grand Slam final, whether I win or lose, I always expect doping control to be there as soon as I step off the court.
Exactly.
And they're not. Here you have a Grand Slam winner or finalist, and they're not even getting tested. So we know that it isn't happening as frequently as it should. So that in itself is a fail of the system.
But actually, no, that is not a fail of WADA. That is a fail
It's a fail of tennis.
ITF and tennis.
Well, wait. But let's not get confused. So why are we going down this road? Because the question I'm asking is, when the system, quote-unquote, works, which is this case,
right?
Why attack that system?
Oh, because you see, I'm not attacking.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the sort of general trend of attacking. Well, you know, WADA should have really decided that it was going to be a different thing.
Because it's not who they wanted it to be. Like, because we've seen this before, right?
Speak the truth, Realz.
In 1988, Carl Lewis failed his drug test. He failed several drug tests. But everybody wanted Carl Lewis because he was supposed to beat Ben Johnson. And then he didn't beat Ben Johnson. But somehow Ben Johnson failed the test. And on the tee, Ben Johnson said he was taking steroid, but he knew he wasn't supposed to fail the test. There is a claim, a theory out there, and there is some photographic evidence to support this to a certain extent, that his Coca-Cola got spiked just before he did doping control. However, by the end of the day, Ben Johnson was definitely on steroids because that motherfucker was bigger than he needed to be. Massive. He was definitely on steroids. But he was supposed to be tested clean at that point. So don't tell me that, you know, that the establishment can't be doing hide and sing around. But this time around, Maria admitted to failing the test. There is no ambiguity about she taking this substance, that she failing this test. So
You know,
this
that's
didn't work.
true. But you know what I find interesting though, and this is the question I've been pondering, because I feel like there are two things going on, and I think these issues have gotten blurred, and people have been
Hmm.
trying to clarify them, which
Hmm.
is that fine, she has a legal problem because she was legally taking a drug that was fine up until January, right?
Hmm.
So obviously, legally, she's fallen afoul of the system. But where do you think she fell afoul of the system for the previous 10 years?
I'm
Do
sorry.
you think that she was more she did not go along with the spirit of the sport in some sense? Is
Okay.
that the only way we can talk about that?
Yes, I want to
Yeah.
talk about that because you see, I don't like this. Well, she was legally taking this drug. Because what I'm going to say is that, first of all, I read WADA and I have a BA in English and literature and history, okay? And this is why I keep pushing for tennis players, get an education, get a fucking education. It is my
But
mantra,
but
Andree and
stop
Janina.
it, because they
But
make
hold
more
on.
money than you. So what
That's
does
all
that
right.
matter?
That apparently, well, reading is fundamental, Maria. But you see, girl, you didn't read that email. You didn't read those handouts before. You didn't read those shit, and you weren't even smart enough to hire someone like me who likes to read. We offered services some time ago to Nicholas Mahout. Boo, we will tell you where you need to be. We will help you check in. We're extending those doping services too. We will read your email and inform you when Dr. Zhivago drops the ball. We will be there for you to tell you what will be on the list. Janina will be doing all the medication searches, and Andreen, you deliver the message, and Realz is there to back up this documentation. Money
Go
for
ahead
all.
though. Make your
Anyway,
point though.
my point is going back to
Moral
the
versus legal.
WADA said that there shouldn't be you cannot take any medication which is altering your blood system basically. This is why, because this situation came up when we talk about the hyperbaric chamber, where the hyperbaric chamber was not it's not chemic it's not you're not adding something to your blood, you're not taking your blood and putting your blood back in, you're not taking medication. That what was happening was it was outside effect, right? And there's still question about the hyperbaric chamber. But as of now, WADA is aware of the hyperbaric chamber. They have done their testing, and so far they've said nothing. But what WADA has made absolutely clear was that they did not know my girl Meldronia. They didn't know
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
They weren't aware of her. So they couldn't say anything. And any mention of meldonium in their system, meldonium would have come up as a so-called heart medication. Because when meldonium was being used with Russian soldiers, that wasn't being talked about and that wasn't put out there. And people, Russian soldiers, ain't no fucking time is going to have a whole bunch of people with bad hearts. No way, no fucking way you're going to be in scout mission, you're going to be out patrolling with a gun and your heart ain't working. You have angina. No, no, no. So anyway, so WADA was not aware of the situation. What happened was that I guess someone kind of said that hey, people, you need to check this out. Or perhaps when WADA was doing their testing, they were finding that this is because meldonium is not a natural substance. It's not a natural supplement. It's no kind of supplement. And they were finding, and the high proportion of athletes that were getting and coming from the same area, almost like match fixing, where this the bets coming in from one particular place from the same computer, and the same set of players and the same from the same areas was showing positive for this drug. When they asked the players about these things, these athletes and whatever, they couldn't give any medical reason. So those 1 in 5 Russian athletes who were taking meldonium as a supplement, they had no heart condition. And I find it so hard to believe that Maria Sharapova is the only athlete who's really taking this medication for heart medication. This medication for heart. I find that hard to believe. So then come 2014, WADA put out a publication saying, we're going to be looking into meldonium for 2015. So therefore, Maria should have known in 2014 that there was going to be some issues with this drug and to find a substitute. But apparently, Dr. Zhivago had other things to do. 2015, they put out all this thing that before the end of 2015, they came to the conclusion that this drug was no longer, it's supposed to be bad. So to me, those 10 years before that she was taking it, the spirit of it, I don't feel clear about. I don't feel good about it. To me, the spirit of it that she was somehow cheated. People might not like that word, but you know what? The spirit of it She wasn't. I do not believe Maria was taking this drug for heart any kind of medical reason other than to get an unfair advantage. And if it's an unfair advantage today in January of 2016, it's clearly an unfair advantage back then. However, WADA is being nice and not doing anything to you. Just saying.
Well, and you know what? Andy Murray said pretty much the same thing. He was like, yeah, it only became banned on January 1st. But if you can go to sleep at night knowing that you were taking something that's so-called legal, basically good for you, because I couldn't.
Well, it's interesting because that's what obviously I'm talking. I don't know if it happened to you, but everyone who knows I follow tennis contacts me and talks to me about this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And of course the compelling, the most sort of obvious thing that always comes up is, wow, this was really stupid. You have so many chances to stop taking this thing. And then they said, what's interesting is then clearly this athlete believed that they could not participate in sport without it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what that person. So therefore, they believe it's having an impact. Now, whether people are now willing to sort of throw all the research under the bus and all the millions and millions of dollars spent on soldiers, millions of dollars exporting this drug, which supposedly now is a fantastical drug that no one believes does anything, suddenly. But clearly the athlete believed it was having an impact, right? And so much so that this athlete was like, you know what, I don't think I can perform. I don't think I can perform without it, because that's the old. Because I actually honestly don't believe that it comes down to I did not click a link. I mean, I think on some, and so even that issue to me is really sort of central to this argument, which is that you had become possibly dependent on this drug in order to perform on court, and you were willing to take one for the team in some sense by saying, let me throw myself on the mercy of the courts, let me throw myself on the mercy of the fans as I begin to shape this narrative for you, and say that I simply I made a mistake. Lone person, millions of dollars, I know I can pay someone $40,000 to read my emails about my medical things, but I, a lone athlete, was the only one at fault. I mean, I don't know. The whole thing just smells rotten to me. And for me, what's been really pissing me off, because you all know that I was very even-tempered when this all came out. I was really sad. And then I thought, but what's gotten me really upset has been the defense of something that is indefensible. Even the legal portion of it is really indefensible. And so to see everyone sort of come out and offer this space where it's all about excuses and it's all about rationalizing this person's really poor behavior, I can't truck with that. I will give you the 10 years that you essentially were ahead of WADA. Mm-hmm. But please don't stare at me and beg me to have sympathy
for 28 days. Fuck no, no. We have a comment here.
Go ahead.
And I just want to clarify that reason is unbreakable, put out this comment. He said, so you were saying that Maria knew it was banned, knew she was going to be tested in Australia, and took it anyway. Hold on. Give me a break. Check your bias. It's showing. Hold up. You asked 3 questions here, and I'm going to answer them all. 1, so you're saying Maria knew it was banned? Yes, she knew it was going to be banned and knew it would be banned. Knew she was going to be tested at the Australian Open? No, because testing is random. They don't know they're going to be tested. And took it anyway? Yes. I'll tell you why she took it anyway. Because Maria Sharapova is not the first athlete to be banned to get tested, fail a doping test. And they all take it hoping that they won't be the one to be caught. And hoping that somehow they can get around the system. Because I'm going to put this out here. If Maria truly wants to accept responsibility for her actions, as she said in her very first statement, then you need to do what Martina Hingis did. You said you don't want to test the B sample, and I know some people feel that it's showing that we should give her plus for that because she don't want the B sample to be tested. Why? Why are we testing the fucking B sample when we know it's in her system? She admitted to taking the drug for 10 years. We're not gonna find anything new in B sample and sample B. It's the same set of paste that was taken the first set of paste anyway. But my point is that she took it anyway and was hoping that she wouldn't have been caught. If she wants to take full responsibility, do what Martina Hingis did. Shut the fuck up and go home and sit down for 4 years or 2 years or whatever it is, and then come back.
I think there's something else going on there. I think there's something else going on there. I don't think it was a matter of she didn't think she would be caught. I think she might have expected them to sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, because tennis has done that so many times.
Sharapova. I don't think it was necessarily of I'm going to take my chances and maybe not get tested and fail a drug test. I think it was more along the lines probably of, like you were just saying back with track and field.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm doping, but I'm supposed to come out clean.
You're supposed to come out clean, and you're such a big star.
History in tennis shows us that when questions are asked and punishments are doled out, it's never the top dog. Never.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about not so much about the top dogs, but let's talk about the responses from her sponsors, because I really find Head's response really problematic.
Head, I'm gonna tell you this. You have a problem with me because you're giving a bad blowjob here, and ain't nobody got time for a bad blowjob. That's some fucking trying to blow some bullshit out my ass. You're fucking crazy. You are fucking crazy.
I don't even know if I can speak on it.
Listen, I find it disrespectful. Let me just say, my initial impression of Head. Listen, I believe all sponsors have a business relationship, and their business relationship is not with tennis; it's with the athlete.
True.
Okay, and if you want to respect the sport, then you respect the process.
Especially when you're making rackets.
But you see, I think that's what's interesting. What's interesting is that all the non-tennis sponsors had, I think, appropriate reaction. We're going to wait and see what her punishment is, and in the interim, we will suspend our contract with her. All, I think, except for Evian, I think, refrained from doing that, and Avon products.
Why
those two didn't do anything. But the thing for me,
Evian wouldn't be mad because.
But that's fine. But what I'm saying is that they respected the appropriate procedures in the sport.
And they are not strictly tennis.
And they're not. But how is the strictly tennis sponsor so dismissive of tennis's own anti-doping process?
And you want to know something I found rather interesting too? That he led the charge. When was this? I believe it was Wednesday. When did Head come up and make the statement? Yesterday?
Tony says that Head hired the CSI staff and wrapped up the investigation in under an hour, right? I love you, Tony.
But you know what I find interesting? But you know
what? Wait, do we have his statement? Do we have his statement somewhere? I didn't print it out. Maybe we should say it just in case someone didn't. Any of our listeners didn't.
Okay.
What did he say?
Okay, wait a minute. I want to make sure that I've got the right
thing
here.
Yeah, because I found something rather interesting.
Because there's an article floating around out there with Andy Murray slamming the Head guy.
You give him bad blowjob. You give him bad blowjob.
So she's looking for it, but go ahead with your point, Realz.
What I'm saying is that Head introduced the idea that even if this were PEDs, performance enhancing drug, Maria wasn't taking it at the levels of a PED. And then lo and behold, Maria shows up the next day with a similar statement. That one, my doctor was giving me this as a medication for her, not as a PED. And not only that, I was taking it at half of that recommended dosage. So my levels are really low. So whereas, for example, so PED performance, you have to take 4 tablets. My doctor said take 2, and I'm only taking 1. So this is what I don't understand. So he is sending out this thing, and then he put out this idea. My favorite bit. She should teach kids tennis for 3 months. Get the fuck out of here. We're going to have the crackhead in the creche. We're going to have the crackhead in the fucking preschool.
Leading the AA meeting?
Is that how we do it now out here?
Apparently.
What is Maria going to have a conversation with these kids and say what? What is she going to tell us? What is she gonna tell us? What is she gonna tell these
Listen.
little kids? Go play tennis. And why you here, girl? Why you not in Miami?
Take 5 Flintstone vitamins instead of the recommended 1. No, sorry.
Why you not in Rome, Maria? Why you here playing with us? Well, I got banned. What for? For taking drugs. Oh yeah, you're a hero. You take drugs and you come hang out with kids. Take more drugs because we love you. Get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. Head, I'm telling you, bad blowjob, and we got no time. Realz has no time for bad blowjob. You're putting teeth in it and you can't even swallow, and you just fucking spit all over this shit.
Oh my
Move
God!
back.
Thank you,
Move
Tony, for
back.
sending me the. Thank you, Tony, for sending me the statement from Head.
What is
That's
Head's
what
statement? What's Head's statement?
Head is proud to stand behind Maria now and into the future, and we intend to extend her contract. For more than a decade, Maria Sharapova has been a role model and a woman of integrity who has inspired millions of fans around the world to play and watch tennis. The honesty and courage she displayed in announcing and acknowledging her mistake was admirable. We look forward to working with her and to announcing new sponsorships in the weeks and months ahead. Maria may have made a mistake, but she has earned the benefit of the doubt, and we are extending it to her. We look forward to many more years of working with Maria.
If this were a bad mistake, and if this were an oversight with Maria and we want to blame WADA, you know what Maria and her team would have been doing? Finding the other 99 athletes who failed the drug test for meldonium and let them come and tell their story. I didn't click the link. I didn't hear about this shit. But no, this is only a one-woman show for Maria. So this isn't about morals, people. This is about money. This is about money. We're trying to keep our top dollar here because, Andy Murray, you know I'm indifferent to you, but you know I'm giving you a big tooth for your statement, but you ain't selling head racket like how Maria's selling head racket. You're just not. No tea, no shade.
But you know
I'm telling the
what?
gospel
Listen,
truth.
Andy has put the shit out there on so many levels. First of all, he said, when asked was he surprised, he's like, I'm not surprised. This shit happens all the time.
Yes.
I'm really not surprised.
I think
You know,
I think what's
nobody else
everybody
is
for a
saying
loop.
that, but
I
nobody
think what-
else is saying that. I
But
appreciate
you know what I
that.
think? You know why I think WT and everybody else has been silent and in shock? Because let me tell you, I know this thing is full of shit and highly orchestrated. So Maria had a press conference in some dirty, dingy hotel, according to her, with dirty carpet, disrespectful, and no real tennis journalist was out there. But why not? They were in California. They were heading to Indian Wells because they're not gonna get to talk to Maria again, right? Because Maria's not gonna be in Indian Wells to have a conversation to ask questions to. So why not show up and see Maria there? But then all of a sudden, the surprise shock. I think what no one expected was that WADA probably told WTA and ITF, we are going public. Either you say she failed the test, or we're gonna say it. However you wish to handle it.
Yeah.
And then she decided, you know what, I'm gonna take the ball by the range. She and her team got together, and they're trying to do damage control. But it's too much out of their control now because I think drugs has been a big sore subject for a lot of people now. A lot of countries are seeing them lose, seeing the fact that they're losing medals to a whole bunch of cheats, and they're not standing for this shit at all. Particularly England,
Yeah.
they're not standing for this drug cheating bullshit anymore.
No,
And-
they're not.
So she had to come public, and she's trying to tell us a sack of bullshit. This is a whole bunch of bullshit. Look, people cheat in sports all the time.
Yes, they
Maria
do.
isn't above cheating. And she
Nobody
cheats
is.
to get an
Nobody is.
advantage.
Let's be clear. Nobody is
Nobody
above
is.
cheating. Nobody.
I mean, like we all
Because
know
everybody
athletes
wants
push
to win.
Exactly, push to win. But not everybody wants to win. I'm telling you, because look, I could name some names of people who I don't think want to win. They're just happy to be present and get the second round price check. But you know, I mean, like this idea that she wouldn't do this. I mean, like, come on, like, so she isn't cheating, but all the other athletes are cheating. Like,
Hey,
I mean, like,
you know, I don't know.
Why not you all make it? Why is this case not being made for the other 99 athletes? Why is it
Well-
only Maria is the only one who isn't cheating? She somehow does she intentionally was taking meldonium?
Because
She
their
didn't try to do
names,
unfair advantage.
their names aren't big enough. Bottom line, they're not big enough. They aren't the top dogs of their sports. They're not bringing in money for every Tom, Dick, and Harry sponsor, or they're not filling stadiums, they're not selling candy like Maria. That's why. That's it. This isn't a question. I mean, it's obvious.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is
want to say, like, open your eyes, people. Open your eyes. When you have players coming forward saying, you know what? I don't check the list. My team does, and I trust them. Okay, fine. And then you have players say, you know what? I don't check the list, but if I have to take something, I do check the list, and I check it 10 times. You've got all these other people saying, you are doing something, you just don't. I mean, you can't be the caliber of athlete that Maria Sharapova is and really expect people to 100% wholeheartedly believe that you failed a drug test because of an oversight. Bullshit, because it wasn't one oversight. It was many oversights that happened over multiple years, apparently.
But wait, but even if it is an oversight, and this is the part for me, this is where I want everyone to get around the table on this. It's an oversight that she has admitted to, and so therefore I want us to write about it from that position.
Exactly.
We should not be seeing articles within the sport that proclaims to want it to be clean defending her oversight. Because actually, in a weird way, I read that piece about the athletes, different athletes, about whether they read emails or not, and it was actually quite dismissive of the one athlete that said that she went over 20 times. It was quite dismissive of Belinda Bencic. Bencic is sort of like over Ember. It's sort of the sort of the strain of the article was, hey, nobody's reading this because guess what? These people, they barely can understand English, some of them, and it's so complicated. And how could they really understand these complicated? Listen, you are a professional athlete. Making sure that what you put in your body is clean is your first job. That's why you get to play the sport. So when you write an article that is really essentially dismissive of that endeavor, I just think that you bring shame to your sport when you characterize it that way.
Well, you do.
And you should. So it was, to me, I felt that was slightly mocking, and it was also creating an environment where it was like diffuse responsibility. The athlete wasn't responsible because guess what? No one else is. If everyone else is stealing, does that mean that it's okay for everyone to steal? No.
Right.
What the tenor should be is, you know what? Let's all learn a very valuable lesson here, which is that we really have to take our individual responsibility seriously. And we should not be defending this issue. Fine, I will give you the idea of it being open as to whether Maria was doping for the last 10 years. But guess what? Starting January 1st, she doped because that's what it is. That was one of the interesting questions: was Maria doping? Guess what? The definition of having a foreign substance that you're not supposed to have, or a prohibited substance in your body, that's what it means. It's doping. That's what that is.
It's worth mentioning.
It's ugly, but no headline is saying doping. Nobody's saying doping. That's the thing. Everyone is like, Maria made a mistake. That's a different headline than Maria doped.
Yeah, no. A friend of mine who was listening in, hey Felix, he just sent out something. He said, head, yes, it's bad blowjob, but head makes rackets, and here are the definitions for a racket. A loud distressing noise, Maria, calling you out. 2, a commotion. And 3, dishonest and profitable business practice.
Oh dear.
You're all into that. You're all into that head.
But listen, you guys, it's worth mentioning, even though we all know it, Maria has been on tour for how many years? 15? Something like that?
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
This isn't new. It is not new that every January 1st, the updated WADA list comes out. She is a seasoned pro. This is not her first time at the rodeo.
Not Belinda Bencic.
And you know what? Belinda says, I'm reading the emails. I'm checking the list.
My mother is all up on it, too.
Right? So,
and then my mother is like, are you checking it? Are you checking it? So, girl, fire Dr. Zhivago if this is who's to blame.
Can we give a shout out to her? Can we give a shout out to all the people all the WTA players who responded by saying, really, I mean, this is a real shout out to you all.
Caroline
saying that-
Wozniacki.
Yeah, for saying that you check the list, for saying that you make sure that someone checks it and explains it
Serena,
to
you
you.
too?
You know, all of you, because you know what, that's your first responsibility as an athlete, because that's why we trust you and that's why we pay to watch you, is because you take that responsibility seriously. And so
And
as
when you're-
fans, I appreciate you not chuckling at this issue, but actually taking it seriously and saying, you know what, I try my best to read and to understand. I
Reading
mean,
is fundamental.
can we
And you know, Realz is all about the reading. You know, but I just wanna oh my god, I think I lost my train of thought. But
That's
I
okay.
just seriously, Janina.
Can I just throw out there that we know Andreen's going to be leaving us shortly to actually go watch rained out tennis, and we do have somebody coming in, so make sure that she has what she needs to come in.
Okay.
But also, I thought Serena's
that's
thought her
what I wanted
statement
to
was
address.
very interesting, because we know now that players have been giving talking points, and we didn't get to see the talking points, but given the way the majority of people are responding, I think it is safe to assume that they are being told to praise her for coming out and let's focus on the positives type of thing. And
Actually, I mean, sorry, I know some people. I know one person in particular got really upset on our YouTube page, got upset about Serena and why she's, because I think that was deliberate. I don't think Serena was fully aware this is what they're going to do, but I think WTA response, which I thought was very cowardly, was to give the talking points to their number one player, which is fucked up. Because, but you know what? Here's the strange world indeed, right? Where a black woman is saving the white savior. of tennis.
It's not strange. No, that's not strange. That's what we do. We're mammies. So that's not new. I mean, that's following the narrative.
Whereas Serena said what she was quote unquote supposed to say, she threw some shade in there.
Oh yes, because what I thought was
she
really
did.
crazy. Everybody forgot the fact that when this first came out, Serena tweeted on Instagram, "My girl at Meldonium." She put it up, but she quickly took it down later on. But it was
too
that
late.
exists out there, and she was laughing at the situation. Because really and truly, this is such a laughable situation. Like, how the fuck you gonna throw away your $1 million empire because you didn't read December 22nd email? Girl, were you drinking so many eggnog?
Listen to what Serena said. I'm 100% confident with my team, and at the same time, I know all the things I'm taking. It's difficult to imagine that something like this can happen, but everyone can make mistakes. I want to believe that for sure it was a mistake for Maria, that she didn't want to do it, but it is a result of negligence.
That's what Maria said?
That's what Serena's. And I think that's what we have to do it.
She says the rules are like this, and it's fair, and now she must pay for it.
And I think that's what I want us to focus on. I really do. I really think that you have to focus. You made a mistake, supposedly, and that's fine. I'll admit it. I'll let you make a mistake, but we cannot spend time defending your mistake. We cannot defend it. We cannot rationalize it. We cannot give all sorts of reasons for why it happened.
Oh my God.
What?
Okay, wait. No, I totally just fucked up. I read something out of order, and before somebody fucking comes at me,
you better fix it. Let
me fix it, and that will lead us into something beautiful.
All right.
That I just read, that wasn't Serena.
Who said it?
You know who that was? That was Rafa. That was Rafa who said that.
He's lovely.
Lo and behold, what does Maria put out today?
Yes, she did.
Let us just say, she doesn't say anybody by name. However, Maria put out a statement that says, I'm proud of how I've played the game. I've been honest and upfront. I won't pretend to be injured so I can hide the truth about my testing. I look forward to the ITF hearing, at which time they will receive my detailed medical records. I hope I will be allowed to play again, but no matter what, I want you, my fans, to know the truth and have the facts.
Ooh, flame wars.
You're throwing dirty bombs, girl. You're throwing dirty bombs. And I'm telling you, Maria, this is not a game I think you want to play. And
I
I'm
don't
telling
think
you,
it is.
tennis, you need to take back your sport from Maria Sharapova. You really do. Because let me give you the facts in case you didn't check it out. Since the year we're 3 months in, our 2 and 11 days, because apparently people checking numbers, we're more than 28 days in. And the two biggest story that has come out of tennis, it's not that Nola is on his way to supposedly be Rafa, to equal Rafa and then go for Federer's crown as the most majors. It's
Or
not
the Golden Slam.
or the Golden Slam. It's not that Andree Kerber beat the best tennis player in generations, Serena Williams, in the Grand Slam finals, particularly in Melbourne, where she is the queen down under. It's not that. It's been match fixing, and then you tell us in match fixing, oh, that's very difficult for us to prove match fixing has already happened. And then it's been doping. And here we have an empirical test saying that she failed the test. And then y'all are trying to sell me a bag of shit, telling me some bullshit like, well, it's only 28 days, so, it's not. She didn't really fail, like, let's give her a break. Like, how the fuck does that work? How does that work? Y'all certainly didn't think that y'all won't giving Wayne O'Desnick a break. You're giving 15 years. 15 years. And if we're gonna talk about how shady tennis has been about drugs, is that Wayne O'Desnick got a whole bag of HGH and nobody asked for names. He ain't a chemist, as Maria said. I'm not a chemist. I don't know medical name. So therefore, Wayne O'Desnick wasn't making that shit in his backyard.
Well, you know
And
what?
he's
I'm not a
traveling with the
chemist.
shit.
I don't know medical names, but it wasn't very hard for me to find out both. Google is
Match
your
letters,
friend.
boo. Match letters, Maria. If you can't
Do
say,
we
just take pictures and see what it looks. This is match letters. Get the fuck
do
out
we
of here.
know
Bullshit.
yet if she has declared that she's been taking this all these years? Do we know this yet or not?
She said this. She said she's been taking it for 10 years. There's
No,
no.
I
no,
mean, did
but-
she declare it with the ITF every time she gave us sample? Because you're supposed to tell them whatever you're taking, whether, vitamins, anything that you're taking and that may show up in your system, you are supposed to present that information before you give a drug sample. Was she doing that? Do we know that yet or no?
But this is what I find
It's
rather
not. It's not
interesting.
confirmed. I believe there was a rumor. I think Lindsay Davenport said so, but apparently that was told to her by Maria's lawyer. So I'd rather not go with anything that is sort of floated out there by their lawyers, because I think what we should do is wait until the case goes in front of the tribunal and we find out all the
And
information.
that
Because
tribunal is being picked by
realistically-
ITF people.
Yeah, because realistically, what's really happening now, I feel like, is that the case is being tried publicly
Yeah,
Of course.
to generate a lot of support for leniency. Every day something new floats out there, and then suddenly Maria is clearly checking emails because suddenly she's writing responses on her Facebook page, which I think is really clever. I mean, can we talk about that aside? Really, that section of it is that process.
Okay, let me just say that email hey, I think someone's at our door and we can see you. We don't like to see people here. We like that here. Only if you're a tennis player, we let you show your face, okay? But, I just want to say that email, that second statement, I mean, it's almost like every statement that Maria puts out, I am getting upset. And I'm getting angry. And I think, it's irrational. Your anger is irrational. People are dying out here, you know what? And there's no need to get upset with this woman and her white privilege and her Russian doctors. But, when she said, I opened up my email, from the next day, and the first one I saw was from my best friend. Girl, bye with this bullshit. So you telling me you found out on March 2nd that you failed this drug test. You don't call your best friend for what, 7 days, 5 days?
Oh God!
You don't call her for 5 days to express, girl, I failed this test. And she gotta find out like John P. Public?
Mm-mm.
No. Listen,
her only
that-
means of communicating to you was through Facebook Messenger?
No. Listen,
That ain't a best friend. That's a fan. That is a fan. That's a number one fan.
listen, you know what that is. That whole thing is essentially an attempt to remind you of Maria's humanity, so that
It's another PR stunt.
Well, because
Ooh.
reality is usually what happens when an athlete ends up in trouble like this. They just become a sort of hated figure, right? Vilified figure. And I think what's really been interesting is how Maria's been able to kind of maintain a kind of victimhood in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
She's a victim of really, really complicated words. She's a victim of her team, which, by the
She's a
way, are
victim
essentially
Of not
her
access to
employees.
email.
She's
you
a
know,
victim of pamphlets that have too many words on them.
a victim of actually opening the email and clicking a link. Those are too much for her.
But realistically, no. But do you realize she's been dummied? She's been made dumb. She's been made a simpleton. This is a woman who was supposedly at something completely different. And suddenly, in order for us to forgive her, or even in order for us to actually think better of her or really embrace the idea of her mistake, is that we have to welcome a Maria that we've never been introduced to.
I'm not buying it.
See, this is what I have a problem with.
It's interesting.
Because, Maria, every time you wrote out a statement I'm supposed to believe in the first time, you wrote 3 statements which are very lengthy, very coherent, full of bullshit, but you know what? If my spidey senses isn't up, I would buy into this bullshit. So I can't believe you being so dumb, and yet you're being so smart and coherent to write these long narratives. I don't buy that. But before we go any further, let us introduce our guest. Is our guest technology up and working? Is Fiora Bianca here with us today?
Hi.
Oh, yes, yeah. We like to bring in a guest, our fans, every once in a while, you know, because, you know, sometimes, you know, we might be so much into our own shit. You know, we're that good. You know, we're smelling ourselves, we're feeling ourselves. So, Fiora, do you think you've been listening to us? Are we making a good case? You think we're crazy?
No, well, I mean, you guys are definitely crazy, but, like, you're right on this one, for sure.
Oh, before we go any further, Fiora, I'd just like to put out an announcement just in case people stop listening. So, to Nike, Taghauser and Porsche, or Porsche, whatever you pronounce it, please, since you've dropped Maria, you got some spare coins laying around, please, please. I mean, I'm not even asking for much. $10,000, you know what I mean? Like, look, we would do it, Nike, we would do it. Porsche will get whatever you need to. And Taghauser, this is a bunch of colored people here, so you know we need to know the time. You know we will well do it some time people.
Oh my god, that was horrible.
We're not asking for the $500,000 model like Rafa. We don't need all of that. The $20 model, the $100 model will be fine for me. Janina and Andree, I can't speak for you too. But I'm just saying overall.
I can't. I like to pay my own way so I can say what I want.
Oh. Well, look. Our technology sucks, girl, so I don't know about you, okay? We gotta get our message out to the people, okay? Taghauser, you know, you can do it onto the table, and I tell you what, Taghauser, no one check for a doping, so we're not gonna fail. We're not gonna fail any test.
Okay, move on.
Moving on. So, that was an announcement. That's a big announcement from our wannabe sponsors. Saying, you know, commercial break. Moving on. Fiora, what do you gotta say about this?
I mean, I think that I definitely agree with what y'all are saying, and I really think that there's some kind of shady underlying current to this whole situation, and it all revolves around Maria being the poster child for tennis. And while it's not necessarily reflected in her record, but I mean, she's probably still the most recognizable face of tennis. And I think that that's why it's so quiet from, you know, the real tennis media or even like the fake tennis media, but like people are bending over backwards to make it seem like, oh, you know, it's not really that big of a deal. Like you said, Realz, oh, it's only 28 days. It's really not, you know, it's not that bad.
Like, girl, just didn't get your email, whatever. It's okay, you know. Like, well, we can enforce it in February. We can enforce it in March.
It's frustrating, though. It's really frustrating to see so many people throw themselves in front of her when she admitted to being in the wrong, and it's like people just don't care. They ignore that.
But you know, I mean, like, I tell you why one of the reasons why I'm really angry and upset. I feel like I've seen this story before, and I've been told I need to buy this bullshit when it's not. When Lance Armstrong tested positive, when we knew Lance Armstrong was cheated, right? And he, you know what he did? He put up a picture with his 7 Tour de France, and was just like, fuck you. Y'all are not taking this shit away from me. And this is what I'm seeing here from Maria. Though she's mouthing the words, you know what? I hope I get the chance to play tennis. She's endorsing this fight. She is endorsing this fight for Maria. I stand with Maria. You can't stand with Maria. She's cheated. She cheated. She was doping. She doped for 28 days at the very least. You can't stand with a doper. Stand with her outside, but you can't stand with her in the sport. You just can't. I know we got those crackhead uncles and we got those druggy and alcoholic mom. That's good. I'm all with you. Stand with your people. Stand with them in rehab. Okay? And she needs a 4-year rehab. Because if Maria is allowed to sit down home for 6 months perhaps or some shit, then I guarantee you then tennis cannot suspend anybody else. I know they're going to try some bullshit, well, you should have learned from Maria's mistake. No, because this isn't the first time someone has ever been caught doping. Maria is not the first doper ever. She's not. And this is crazy. I cannot accept this any other way. Maria needs to go home for 2 to 4 years. People get mad, you get bad, but you can't do me anything. Just putting it out there. What do you have to say, lady?
I don't think she's going to serve much time, if any at all, honestly.
Isn't that sad?
WADA has said that they're ready to step in if they feel like the sentence is too lenient.
WADA must. They have to.
They said they will.
I think it would be a complete joke if WADA, if the ITF Independent Tribunal, which we know are usually independent-ish, decided to give Maria 2 to 6 months ban or something like that, even a 1-year suspension. She needs to be out of this sport for at least 2 years. She has been taking this drug and it's not for heart medication. It's not. So, I don't know.
I mean, but would they really ever be able to prove that she took it willfully? Like,
she said she was
yes,
taking it
because she
willfully.
said she did.
She said she did.
No, I mean, like, with the intent to use the PED enhancements or...
But she doesn't have a heart condition, and people say you don't know. But I mean, like, Maria is running up and down on tennis court. If you have an angina, you cannot be training.
She's not. No. Just
and
no.
there is enough evidence to support that people have been taking this drug as a PED.
Well, let me, I hate to go,
Mhm.
but I want to make sure I'm proactive in leaving just in case I get cut out.
Mhm.
This is where I sign off.
Mhm.
You all continue having your conversation. This has been really good. It's been good to sort of just check in because really that was our intention, right? Was to kind of check in and to see where we are in terms of this controversy. And surprisingly, I'm shocked that we're even
Here.
I mean, essentially, I'm shocked that it's not getting more coverage. I mean, I expected this to be running on the news program 24/7. I expected to see it all the time, and I really haven't. And that's really shocking to me. Which, I mean, maybe it's really good for tennis that it isn't, because I know that when Serena lost at the French Open in the first round, I saw that sucker on replay all the time. So I would have assumed that I would have been seeing the press conference replay on repeat. You know what I mean? I just thought that there would just be a lot more news around it. So that's been kind of interesting.
And people
critical and being thoughtful, and then using this as as sort of an opportunity to educate us about ITF's anti-doping program and all of those kinds of things, and none of that's really happening, and so that's somewhat surprising. So I felt like that's why we needed to have this live. I think that's why we all decided to have this, right, was to kind of check in and see for people who really are trying to follow this in a thoughtful way. I know everybody thinks that this is a prejudicial way, but actually it's not prejudicial. It's just trying to be thoughtful about this. So, that's why I'm here, and that's what I'm curious about, and that's how it's going to be for me.
I'm here for that too, but you know what? I know everyone believes that Maria won't be suspended for 6 months, but I'm going to hold out hope she's going to be suspended for 2 to 4 months, 2 to 4 years.
I mean, regardless of what happens, it's kind of like when bad things happen and the legal system doesn't really reinforce that.
And that's what is getting me upset. That's why I'm angry.
Yeah, I think you're afraid. You're afraid that you're going to be sitting around and you're going to hear the news and it's going to be 6 months and it's going to mean nothing.
Because it makes a joke, right? It makes a joke of the situation, right? Because when Serena was supposedly, when 2008, and people, I know Lindsay, is that her name? Liz Sports. She put something that we shouldn't have a seesaw, that we shouldn't be angry at Maria because we would have been more angry at Serena. But the thing about it, just that what Maria did deserves anger. What Serena has been doing, and people have been going on about Serena, isn't that big of a deal. Y'all, you were quick to find Serena nearly $100,000 and ban her for like put her in probation for 3 years or something like that for threatening an alliance person. Y'all were up in Nick's face for like 6 months because
They wanted him kicked out of the sport.
they wanted him
Right.
kicked out of the sport because he said Stan was fucking someone and he wasn't even lying.
Now, where are all those morality police now?
Exactly. Where are those morality police? Where are those people? I haven't seen a single think pieces. It's all about clouding the water and somebody tell me that it's not a PED. Someone says it's only 28 days. And oh yes, I don't read my emails. Then you know what? Then any of these girls or any of these men who fail a drug test next month, they can't say. So then they be getting the email. So what is clear is that the emails have been sent, they've been getting it, they've been seeing it, but they choosing not to click on it. Therefore, when you fail a test, you get no sympathy.
Actually, maybe this is just an opportunity for us to introduce a new app. Essentially, this app will promise. Well, no, but I'm telling you, it will. You enter your own drugs, and it will then send you an alert that says, "Ta-da! Your drug has made it to WADA's list."
Wait a minute. Ben, the lovely Ben, suggested that when he interviewed Richard Ings, and he said, "Listen, that's unrealistic. Why? Because there are tens and tens and tens of thousands of players, and basically, you can't babysit them all. It is your responsibility."
But you can have an individual app though that's tailored to you, and it keeps track of your drugs.
Who creates this and who pays for it?
No, it's yours. Honey, you buy it for $1.99 like you do everything, and you do a subscription every year. This app will promise to track every single drug. What you do is you enter in every drug that you take, and then what's in the database is there's a database of all the drugs that's on the WADA list, okay? And
Andree, stop right there before somebody steals your idea and they're the millionaire and you're not. Just cut that shit out right now.
There is an idea like that, but you know what? All you gotta do, just enter your drug into that app, and it would tell you whether or not it's been.
Well, sure, but see, that's hard. I'm just telling you, do it once. You do it once. You enter all your drugs
and then you get an alert. And then you
get
know what happens? When the alert fails. Oh my God, my alert didn't come through. Because nothing is fail-proof.
Yeah, but when the alert fails, then just like Ben wanted to know, and I thought that was a great interview, by the way, Ben. Just like Ben wanted to know if Maria could sue her team, what you could do is you could sue the manufacturer of the app.
Yeah. but this is what I find really crazy about the whole Maria situation is that people think Maria is beyond cheating. That it's inconceivable that she could cheat.
But that's because people have this really messed up idea in their heads that athletes who cheat, they're all muscular and huge, and they look like freaks of nature. You know, like she doesn't look like she dopes, so how could she possibly be using performance-enhancing drugs?
Well, I gotta say something. If she got such a bad heart, how the fuck is she playing top-level tennis? Therefore, you're kind of doping, no? Isn't it so?
Well, I think, you know what I mean, but I mean, and on this statement, I'm going to leave. I think what's happened is that people equate doping or a doper with a bad person. And because you can't get the space where Maria doesn't have to be a bad person, therefore you have to dismiss the possibility that she was doing this intentionally.
Actually, I don't think it's a bad person per se, but it's someone that you love and someone that you gravitate to.
Listen, if you love them, you gotta love them when they're good, and you gotta love them when they're bad. Yeah, but you know what? Guess what? Your husband can kill. Your brother can do it. Anything, and whatever. Evil happens everywhere. Bad thing happens everywhere. I'm sorry for all you got killer husbands, but I'm just. Anywho, but you guys continue having a great conversation.
Yeah, could you please go talk to Venus Williams, please, because I don't know how the hell Kunuri Nama took the first set 6-4. So please rush over there.
It's back. Okay, well
rush over there.
Listen, I thought tennis.
This first wrong. You see, Venus, I told your ass not to come here in the first place.
Well, listen, if Venus loses, then there's no reason for me to hang around on Sunday. But I thought tennis was going to do me right and put Venus on at night, so that I was really nice and I splurged and I got night session tickets. So I hate to say this, but I'm just begging you, Serena, can you make it last more than 90 minutes? Sorry.
Enjoy, Andree.
Thanks, y'all.
Enjoy.
Take care.
Let us know how the
I will.
feelings over there, please. Let us know how the feelings are over there.
We'll try. Bye, y'all.
Mhm.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my
Bitch is
God.
going to tennis.
Lasts more than 90 minutes.
We have some comments, I think. At least. Oh no, I think one of these comments was probably something inappropriate. But
Of course.
I know, right? But I want to go back to. Let us go to some of the comments that we had on the first podcast, the one that we had last time. Oh, Bill, reason. What did Bill say? Oh my God.
Get it together.
Someone is talking about my cock will not stop throbbing. Oh God, please. You can do better than that. If you're gonna be kind of rude, or clever, or witty, be really witty. Anyway, so some of the comments we've had from last time around. Did you listen to our last podcast, Fiora Bianca?
Yes, the last one?
Yes.
Absolutely.
And how was it? We sounded good, right? As always.
Yeah, I actually thought the tone was very somber and like appropriate for the occasion, and I was like, oh my god, we're legit, look at them, they're so great. And I downloaded it on iTunes,
Oh,
which
look
made
at
me
that.
really happy.
We're in
Did you give us
iTunes,
a good
people.
review?
We're in
Well,
iTunes.
I will. I
You
will.
better. You
I will
better.
do that right now.
See,
So,
you
since
know,
you're
my
our
explanation is
guest,
that I didn't click the link. Yeah, I didn't click
Yeah.
the link for the review.
before you get to comments, since you're our
Mhm.
guest and we kind of just threw you in the middle here,
Mhm.
what was your initial reaction?
I was completely shocked. I mean, I honestly thought the announcement was going to be she was injured again, and she didn't know if she wanted to go through the surgery, and so she was going to retire. So, like, I was expecting a retirement, but sort of the way that Lena did her retirement. So I was on my way out of a meeting, and a friend of mine texted me, and she said, Maria Sharapova is doping. And I was like, what? And so I'm walking out of my meeting with my boss and my coworkers, and I'm yelling at my phone, and they're like, what's the matter? And I was like, nothing's wrong. It's totally fine. I'll be right back. And that was when I like jumped on Twitter, and I was like, oh my god, what is happening? And it was just like, there was too much information at first, and what I was seeing at the very beginning made it seem like, I don't know, I guess it was just too many defenders that I was reading at the beginning, and everybody was like, this was a mistake, and I was like, dang, that's a really shitty thing to happen. Like, wow, that really sucks. And then like the more I read into the stories, and I was like, wait a minute. But as time went on, like, I was really upset at how many people were like, oh, well, you know, she didn't know any better, and it was legal up until then. It was like, well, you know what? Like, driving while talking on your cell phone used to be legal, and now it's not legal anymore. So if you get caught doing it, you're going to get pulled over and you're going to get a ticket. Like, that's how this works.
No matter
now.
if you were talking to your mother, your grandmother, or your baby.
Exactly. I've been driving around for 10 years talking on my cell phone and never had a problem. Yeah, well, you can't do that anymore, okay?
That's
Like,
a really good analogy.
It's really that
Texan.
simple.
And just like texting. So, you know, and you can't say, well, I didn't see any road sign saying talking on your cell phone is illegal. I
Yeah.
didn't see any road sign saying that texting is illegal. Ignorance of the law is of no defense. I mean, that's
But-
law school 101.
Exactly. But what I also did know is that WADA does this every year, and Janina said that earlier in the podcast today. It was like, this is not, oh, hey, it's been 10 years, we're updating the list. Like, apparently this is a January 1st every year this happens.
Plus,
So at
you
least
know
once
this
a
is-
year you should
exactly.
be looking at the list to make sure that,
Well,
hey,
and
am I
I'm
still
sure
good?
that, I'm sure that it wasn't new this year that in September they put out what's going to be on the list next year. This is something that happens every single year. Every year.
Yeah, so that you have time to flush it out of your system.
Yeah, I mean, we heard someone, who's supposedly close to tennis say, shouldn't they get a grace period? The answer to that was they do get a grace period. That's why the
September.
notification comes out 3 months before it officially goes on the ban list.
Exactly.
And the reality is nothing really stays. Listen, they're not testing hair. When you take a substance and they test your hair, it can be detected for a long time.
Right.
A
and
long,
then
long time. They're testing your pee, and sometimes they're testing your
in
blood. But 9 times out of 10, it's your urine. And there is nothing that is staying in your urine for more than, say, what, 3-4 days? Nothing. Nothing. It just doesn't work that way. Your body, I mean, let's think about what urine really is. You know, it is a byproduct of the cleansing of your body. It cleans you out.
So she was definitely taking it at the Australian Open.
She took it at the Australian Open. She didn't take it a week before it started. She didn't take it a week before that match. She took it within days.
And it's not December dregs in her pee. January 28th.
No, it's not. That's scientifically impossible. It doesn't stay in your system that long. And we do know that this was a urine test. So it isn't like, oh, well, maybe they did test her hair. They didn't. They tested her urine. And it doesn't stay in your urine that long. Nothing does. So wake up. Wake up, people.
Well, I don't think they want to wake up, though. But what I find interesting is that nobody is asking, Maria, how is your heart? Since you can't take this drug anymore, what are you going to do?
She's practically suspended now, so why would she have stopped taking it? Especially if she's not going to do the second sample.
But clearly her heart is of a serious condition, right? For 10 years you've been battling heart issues. Why are we not talking about that? You know what I mean?
Because it isn't real?
Exactly. No one believes it to be real. No one's just expressing any concern like, oh, her poor heart, the kind of stress her life is going on at this point, etc., etc. No one's mentioning that. Everyone is trying to build a defense within the public. And that I find so disingenuous. I mean, this is going to be crazy and it's far-fetched to a certain extent. But to me, it's like when, like, I'm going to keep it to sports because I could drive to real life, like real life matter. But, it's like when Peyton Manning put his penis in a woman's face and we're trying to defend him in that situation. Oh, well, it's just a high school joke. It's the joke. It's a college joke, whatever it gets to me. It's like the same thing here, like she's doping, but it's not really doping. When is it doping? When Barbara Streikova was doping, then it's real doping. She could get suspended for 6 months for a supplement. It's doping when it's Marin Cilic. It's doping when it's Viktor Troitsky. And then even those suspensions were a bunch of jokes. But not when it's Maria. Then it's like, no, she should go work with kids.
That was the stupidest thing I have ever read a sponsor say in response to a situation where it came to whether or not they were going to drop an athlete. Oh, well, she got fined for it's fine, it's cool. Like, she can pay her penance by teaching little kids to not dope. Like, yeah.
And since when is teaching little kids to play tennis a punishment?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
I mean, isn't that what she already does with her foundation?
Interesting, right?
Where's my little son? Where's my little? She's gonna have a vacation for 3 months, and meanwhile, this 3 months she wasn't even gonna play anyway because she was already pulling out of tournaments all the time, so she was uninjured. This is crazy.
Well, she was pulling out of tournaments because she knew she was pissing dirty, which is exactly why she was throwing up the bed cup with no fucking racket.
Speaking truth, I know people think we're biased, but I mean, come on, let's look at the facts here. Let's not be stupid people. Let us not be crazy. Let us be intelligent adults here. Let's be rational about these things. Maria isn't the first person to dope. She's not. And therefore, they're going to put up all kind of crazy madness. But we know they're doping for a particular reason. There is a very interesting quote I saw on Richard Ng's Facebook page, something he tweeted. He has pinned to his page.
On his Twitter
account. He said, why do athletes dope? Because doping works, and because the anti-doping industry is ineffective at catching anyone. Motive plus opportunity. I think we could extend it. It doesn't catch everyone. So there are people who bypass the system and are cheating. We know this. I mean, the East Germans come out and said this all the time. So many people came out and said, like, we know people get away with murder. Marion Jones never failed a test. She had to come out and say that she wasn't doping. She was in fact doping. She never failed any test. Marion Jones has not failed a drug test. But yet she came out and she said, I have been doping for a very long time. So, it doesn't catch anyone. And I think Maria knew that this drug, she felt that she needed it. She wasn't going to show up to the Australian Open unless she thought she was going to win. She didn't show up to the WTA tournament thinking that she wasn't going to win. She showed up to the tournament thinking when she has a legitimate chance. If Serena is in the field, she's hoping that someone take care of Serena along the way because she sure as hell ain't doing it.
You know what? I told y'all she was never going to beat Serena again.
That's what I keep thinking for this whole week. I keep thinking, Serena, you can rest easy now. You can go home because Maria shouldn't be back on tour. She's what, 29?
She's not coming back.
Back on tour, and you don't gotta worry about ever having to deal with Maria again. You don't have to worry about coughing up your lungs, anything. You
Checking pressures.
Exactly.
So at this point, now we wait. The official ban starts tomorrow, I think.
The provisional ban, which is
provisional
crazy.
ban. I can't understand why it doesn't start from the day of the failed test, but whatever. I'm not here to debate that.
And she's supposed to get back the money. I guess after they come to a final ruling, I guess that's how it works. But
yeah, she has to give up points and she has to give up money. And, you know, Ings is calling for an open public hearing. And let's hope that happens.
Because she put it out there. She literally, because all the other athletes who failed this test have been handling their business quietly. She put all of this information out there. She's talked about her health. She's talked about her taking medicine. So I don't think that she should be keeping anything from a secret. Because I really want to see those prescriptions. And I really want to see 10 years of documented heart disease. It's true. And
well, you know they're not gonna release it. I mean, they're not gonna.
Dr. Zhivago, I need to see your
license.
License. Yes, I do. That I do, Dr. Zhivago.
All right, guys.
Sure.
Well, but I mean, that was just straight up PR brilliance to get out front, and it worked because there are very, very few people that are like, you know, like I guess like us, but. Everybody else seems to be like, oh yeah, look, she's so brave, she's so courageous.
I don't think it worked. This is my.
Oh, it worked because she's still getting the sympathy vote.
I think she would get the sympathy votes anyway.
Not like the.
No. Because I mean, the fans, regular fans, saying this. What I thought was clearly, I know it has to be an orchestrated event. Is that the media who follow her have not been critical and asked any questions. Real question. They've all been like, give her a pass. That's what I think was rare. That's where her influence really lies. Not with because I mean outside of America and like whatever, because Australia has been very critical. British press have been very critical. They've been calling bullshit to nearly every single thing that she said. I mean, they've gone into what we have said and even then some. I mean, like some of the things that we've highlighted. So I don't think it's definitely a brilliance, but I think she bit off more than she could chew. I think she overplayed her hand. She should keep quiet because if you have a lawyer, he should be speaking for you. You shouldn't be out there putting on Facebook messages because you just got yourself in trouble with that. Reduce your dosage by half of what the doctor recommended to you. Clearly, it's not that serious then.
We've got a registered nurse chiming in that says there are drugs that show up in the urine for an extended period of time, but Maria's what she took isn't one of them. But I'm asking what's an extended period of time because I'm thinking like, are we talking 120 days and stuff that like it can be found in hair samples?
Then that isn't a drug, people. If it's not a drug, that's probably a disease. Okay, just let you know if something is in you, people, 120 days. It should be burning you, and you should see a doctor a long
Oh my
time
God!
ago.
All right, we're wrapping this up.
So, Fiora Bianca, what do you think is going to be the next development? What do you think next is going to happen? Since something crazy happens every time we turn around.
Well, I think it's going to be somebody prominent is going to come out in favor of Maria to say, hey, I think we should be lenient here, and I would suggest 6 months to a year, and I think that's what's going to happen. I really
has
think
that kind of power.
I have no idea, but I can't imagine that with what's going on with that whole the betting scandals in the lower levels of like ATP stuff. Like tennis cannot afford to lose Maria Sharapova. It can't.
They have to because who's gonna take tennis seriously after this? I certainly won't. How are players supposed to? Let me ask you. How are players supposed to react? Because whether or not she wasn't legally cheating. You think the rest of the WTA is really gonna sit down there and be like, "Oh, she was playing fair"?
No, I don't think that at all. And I don't really think it's up to the players because we already know that Maria doesn't have any friends in the locker room or anybody. She's always
Hampton is her friend.
Yeah, and she was told to shut up.
Laura was just like, girl, you don't know what you're talking about. You better shut it down. I could get White Kuzi and Makarova. Makarova, you and Maria are friends? Girl, please. Bye. You stand with Maria? Meskina? You don't even like Maria. You've made it clear since you don't like Maria since 2004. All of a sudden you stand with Maria? You stand with the Russian government, girl, and I understand that. I understand. It's crazy. I mean, I think you probably might be right. Somebody prominent is going to try to do that. But I think Tennessee will lose our level of credibility. And WADA, I think you can hire me as a paralegal because I am going to help you sue the WTA.
Alrighty. You heard it here first.
Because to me it's a joke. I mean, no. That's not happening. So I have a whole lot of faith, and I know people are going to be like, she didn't get suspended for 2 years. You only got 4 months. And you're probably right. But I would say, yeah, I'll fucking cheat too. But I'm hoping that it's going to be 2 to 4 years because I think that's going to be respectable for the sport. It should happen. No one is an island. No one is too big to fail. And it's time we send these messages out to people. And if any of the big stars are failing, cheating, whatever, they should be caught and they should be sent home summarily too, as well.
Well, has this ever happened with like a big player? Because I know with Agassi and Capriati, it was like illicit drugs, like crystal meth and cocaine.
No.
Like that's totally different.
But even that
PEDs.
was hidden for the most part.
Peter Coda had been caught with drugs, but they lied up. They kept it. That's why I think Marcelo Reyes is trying to sue them now.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to sue. He was failed a drug test at Australian Open, sometime soon after the Australian Open, and he's trying to sue. So that's problematic. That's kind of that was part of the issue. But this is what I find so strange this time around. I think WADA made it abundantly clear to ITF that you cannot hide this. We will not allow you to hide this at all. And in light of the fact that WADA is trying to get Russia kicked out of the Olympics because of their track and field program, which is just fucking talk about dirty. Nearly everybody up in there is failing drug tests left, right, and center. And Russia is not so good at failing. This is why I find crazy. Russia is not so good at drug testing. So Maria is all of a sudden, she's American for this, she has joined American white privilege with Russian doctors, which means that she's in the Russian system. And the Russian system is that we don't test you. And we're handing out these pills, we're handing out drugs. I'm not saying what they are. Well, they're telling them what it is, and we know it's for PED. So I don't know. But I mean, like, what Peter Coda just won the Australian Open, so that's not that big of a deal. He just won, but it's not as big as the level of magnitude, not Maria, in terms of tennis. But in terms of cycling, Lance Armstrong, Barry Bonds in baseball, Mark McGwire.
It's rampant in baseball.
Yeah, baseball. I mean, like, we see where Maria may be getting her playbook from Peyton Manning, where he's an HGH and also sexual assault, and we're trying to pretend, we're gonna wax poetry and talk about Savior and whatever his 10 greatest plays. Get the fuck out of here. He's a child molest. He's not a child molest. I take that back. He's not a child molest. Let me take that back. He is a sexual predator.
Oh my god.
Anyway, Andree is
I actually do have a question for you guys, though.
Okay, before we wrap it up.
On the last podcast, you had said you were wondering if the WADA started to ban this because was it the levels that they were seeing in people's system or just the widespread use of it? Did you ever find anything else about that?
I think it's the number of cases. It just kept popping up over and over and over again with no explained reason. It wasn't necessarily that it was being found in samples at a high dosage. It was just that it was being found at all.
But I think the issue that's the mere presence of it indicated you were trying to cheat because there is no other medical reasons for it. It's not like you can take like an aspirin as a blood thinner and also for headache. You understand what I'm saying? And Maria, this thing ain't got no magnesium in it to supplement it. Okay, so let's just put that thing to bed. And I think that's what it is. And water is absolutely clear, as Richard Ng pointed out, that water within the stipulation, water isn't talking about levels. WADA just mentioned the mere presence of it is 4 years ban. And the fact that they're not even saying 2 years for like an initial ban, like for the first time offense. They're saying 4 years. So they have been having serious documentation think this is very problematic. So they're trying to really send a message. So if you get from 4 years to 4 months, oh my God, that's really crazy.
We'll see.
Well,
But anyway.
I mean, if they're anything like the NFL, you can knock your wife out in an elevator, or excuse me, your fiance
Yes,
out in
you
an elevator,
can.
and you get a 2-game suspension.
Yes, you can.
Oh my God.
Versus guys who get arrested for smoking pot get suspended for 6 games. But hey, because apparently that's a
Priorities.
performance-enhancing drug.
Priorities.
And you see what that really leads to, right? You see what Rick Carruth did, people?
All right.
See what he did? Yes, all right. Okay, so good night, fans. I hope you enjoyed this. It might be a little too long, as always. But you know what? Tweet us, comment below, whatever the case may be. We're up on YouTube. I'm going to put it on... It's going to automatically go to Podbean when... It's going to automatically go to iTunes when I put it up on Podbean, which is going to be this evening. So I hope you enjoyed us. Comment get below. You can put all your hateration. Doesn't matter. It's been real. And as always, very controversial, but we keep it real. Good night.
Ciao.